Welcome. Thanks for coming today. We've had a very good deal of interest in this session, and I understand why. Focus today is on debriefing the workplace profile on Catalyst. And as mentioned in the information that went out, I have with me today Tristan May, who's our newest Integro employee. What I'm doing today is taking Tristan through his workplace profile on Catalyst, and in the same way that I would be debriefing him if I was just we had a new employee and I want to take him through his profile, and we sit down with his Catalyst profile on his laptop and take him through it one-on-one. Of course, we've only got 45 minutes for this, and so I will not be doing the full debrief that I would do if I had 2 hours, which is what I would typically want to do. All right. Now, the other thing that is worth mentioning here is that the debrief that I'm going to do is something that if you're a facilitator, coach, consultant, and you debrief your clients on DISC, you could use this one-on-one. You could also use this with a group of people. All right. So as we go through, I'll be discussing how I would adapt what I'm doing here today with Tristan if I had a group of people. And when I say with a group of people, it could be a classroom session where you've got everybody with their laptops open and bringing up their Catalyst profile on their laptop. Or it could be a virtual session where you've got people in different locations logging into a Zoom meeting as we are here. Okay, so that's the context of what we're going to be doing here. In fact, before I would start on this, I would also be going through the whole person concept and the DISC theory model with Tristan. He's already done that when he first joined with us, so I won't be doing that today, but I'd just like to remind you about those two very powerful models that help people better understand their DISC profiles. Okay, so Tristan's going to, this is his screen that you've got here, and he's going to be driving it. And so I'm just going to be guiding him to where I want him to go, and we'll talk about things as we go through. So the first thing we're going to go to is learn about your style. So Tristan could just go into that, and it's going to bring up his profile. I'm just going to zoom a little bit so it's easier for you to see what we're doing here. And as you can see, it starts with just a basic overview of the DISC profile. And on the right-hand side, you will see the DISC map. With a little dot, it's actually a big dot of Tristan's photo, which is where his dot falls in his DISC map. He's an SI style, very strongly inclined. His dot's almost hanging off the edge there. Okay, so this first part here explains what DIS and C are all about. Well, very briefly, of course. So if we scroll down a little bit now, we get to the story, and your dot tells a story. And so this is a narrative report describing what Tristan does, how he behaves, what his feelings and motivations are, etc. Okay, and we always like to get people to personalize this. All right, and so Tristan has filled out a form, and we're going to send you a copy of this debrief form that we've created. And this is something we would recommend you use, and you can use it in a classroom setting with people. And the reason we have this form is because when people are looking at their profile on Catalyst, they can't actually go into Catalyst and annotate the report. They can't make notes on it. They can't highlight anything. Okay, and so it helps if you've got a little document there that says, okay, Tristan, go through this and identify the things that you agree with, anything that you disagree with, and anything you're not sure about. All right, so put a tick on anything you agree with, put a cross on things you disagree with, put a question mark on anything you're not sure about that you'd like to maybe get some input from others on. And then identify 2 or 3 things that really leap at you as being most accurate. Now, Tristan's already done that. And so he's going to share with us one of the things that he agreed with. And this is what I'm going to be doing as a debrief facilitator or coach. He's going to share with me. So I see here, Tristan, that you agreed with these things. So the one that we've picked out today is Tristan.
So the one that we're going to go through today with what I agree with is my tendency to be empathetic and the fact that I'm driven by a desire to like and be liked.
Okay, and so how does that play out in the way you interact with other members of the team?
So I consider myself to be an empathetic person. And what that really means to me is that I want to understand how the other people that I'm interacting with are feeling. I feel like if I can put myself in their shoes, I'm going to have a better understanding of where they're coming from and be able to support them the best that I can.
Okay, and so how does that help you get your work done?
Absolutely. It means that I'm able to work collaboratively with other people and really understand the emotions behind the interactions that I'm having with people. And I find if I
Okay,
understand that, I can work with them very smoothly.
okay. Now, we don't have time to go through other things that he's ticked there, but I would normally go through the two or three more. And I might add, if you're doing this in a classroom setting with a group of people, or in a virtual session with a group of people online, I would then put people into small groups to go through these, to discuss these questions, the things you agreed with, the things you disagreed with, the things that are most accurate, etc. Okay, so a little breakout room and probably allow 10 or 15 minutes for that because people really like to talk about themselves. But let's go on now to the things that Tristan disagreed with. Okay, and I'll sort of identify the one we identified and talked about was refusing to deal with negative information. There it is.
Yeah, so I disagreed with this point, and I really think the source of that one was that I have learned in my previous experiences that if I don't deal with any sort of negative information up front, I can see how that can snowball and really get worse and worse later on down the track. So I do acknowledge that's a learned behavior and something that I've had to sort of get better at doing in my experience.
Yeah, thank you. And that's one of the key things when you're debriefing someone when they disagree with things, is to check in and see, is that something that maybe you used to do in the past? Because although it may not be something that they didn't used to do, it's just that we find that most people, this is so accurate about you as how you were as a person before you learned any emotional intelligence, all right? So obviously you'll have learned to do certain things because of these tendencies. Okay, so that's one of the things we want to explore with people when we're looking at things they're disagreeing with. Okay, and then we're just going to jump to uh, the most accurate. One of the things that really leapt out at you, Tristan,
Absolutely.
the need for harmony.
That's correct. Yes, absolutely. So a really big focus for me that really connected was the need for harmony. So I find that I'm uncomfortable when the people around me are uncomfortable. So that really drives me to sort of check in constantly and really get an understanding of where people are at, because that's how I'm most comfortable when that happens.
Great. Okay, so he can really resonate with that. All right, now let's just scroll down a little bit and we'll come to the cornerstone principles. You notice there's only two here. And if you're used to the workplace profile PDF file, you'll notice there's usually five. And so in Catalyst, the decision was made to just narrow it down to the two most important cornerstone principles. These are things that we need to come back to. And if people are disagreeing, just remember all disc styles and priorities are equally valuable. And everyone's a blend of all four styles. And there's more to you than your disc profile, right? So your work style is influenced by other factors. Okay, and of course here we have the podcast, and this podcast is for your style. For in this case, the SI style. You'll see that's highlighted in the map there. You'll also notice if you have a look at the fine print that it's 54 minutes and 46 seconds long. Okay, now this podcast is narrated by Dr. Mark Scullard, the Director of Research at Wiley, and he's the one that's done the in-depth analysis of what each of the styles tends to do to actually come up with the content of these podcasts. They're really amazing and really encourage you. And we were in the debrief document we've sent out, we've also made space there to encourage people to listen to the podcast and make notes on the things that they really found valuable about that and what insights it gave them and so on. Okay. And so we're going to just go down to further into the workplace profile to what drives you. Okay. And we can go back to the main menu, or we can just go straight on from where we are here. And when we're looking at what drives you, and now we can see the disk map with the shading. All right. And where Tristan's dot is. Okay. And the shading is an representation of your comfort zone. All right, so we would maybe talk a little bit about that. So we're not saying that you're stuck in a particular spot. We're saying that's your home base, That's where you're most comfortable, but you're also likely to be comfortable operating up into the I style, down more into the S style, maybe just a tad over into D and C styles, okay? But the further away you get from where your dot is, the less comfortable you're likely to be. So then we go to the priorities. They're the words around the outside, and the three that are bolded are those that are allocated to Tristan. And everybody is allocated 3 priorities, okay? The one closest to the dot and to either side of that, okay? So as we scroll down here now, we'll see what Tristan's priorities are: valuing collaboration, giving support, and generating enthusiasm. And we would typically spend with a debrief, getting people to read through that. Again, personalized, tick cross question mark. And we could also then break them into a small group. In this case, I'm going to ask Tristan, how do these fit for you? Which of these priorities do you feel resonate most strongly with you?
Absolutely, Keith. I think the third one resonates the strongest with me. So generating enthusiasm. I find that if I am in an environment where lots of people are enthusiastic and excited to be there, I can feed off that similar energy, and it really makes it an exciting place to work. So that's probably my strongest one.
Okay, just going down a little bit further, we get to the motivators and stressors. All right. So again, this is something the profile comes up with and says, based on your style, you're likely to be motivated by these things, and there's a number of bullet points. And then underneath that, what's stressful for you. Now, typically what we do here is we get people to identify one motivator and one stressor that is most accurate for you. All right. And then ask people to discuss that. All right. I'm just going to focus on the stressor in the interest of time because we've got a lot to go through. Tristan, which of those stressors did you decide to talk about today?
I think the one that stands out the most to me is being forceful or insistent with others. That doesn't really come very naturally to me in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Understandably. Okay. And how do you handle situations where you do need to be a bit more direct?
Absolutely. Look, those circumstances do obviously arise from time to time. To get around that, I like to make sure I prepare my responses to the best that I can and make sure that I don't misconstrue any words and really get to the point so there's no misunderstanding about what I'm asking.
Okay, great. Now, if we just go down a little bit further, we'll come to something that, if you're familiar with the workplace profile, shows up on page 16 in the PDF file. And that's the 3 strategies for development. Okay, these are 3 strategies that the program has identified that would help you be more effective in building relationships. And there's handouts in the facilitator materials for helping people come up with action plans. Okay, so for Tristan, we've got acknowledge problems rather than glossing over them, be firm and stand your ground, and focus on follow through. Now, for each of those, it explains a little bit about why you might have a challenge in doing that, and then it gives you some tips, the bullet points down the bottom there. Okay, so Tristan, which one did you choose to work on?
It's definitely this third one for me, Keith, focusing on follow through. I feel like that is something that I really need to focus on, only because, as the wording suggests, I can often commit to taking on a little bit more than I can handle, and I know that is going to impact the team on the long run. So that's something to focus on.
Yeah, that's the hazard of having a bit of I in your profile, isn't it? Your enthusiasm, optimism, and energy encourage you to overcommit. Because you want to do everything and you want to help everyone and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know that. I know that one well. Okay, that's probably the one I would choose for myself as well. Okay, and then I think my team would certainly back me up and say, yes, that's the one you need to work on, Keith. Okay, so let's go down to more to explore here. And I'm just going to quickly touch on you and other styles and build better relationships. And then move on. We might spend a bit more time on this in the debrief, obviously. But in this section, it's about you and other styles. In this case, it's Tristan and the D style, then the I style, etc. And the wording here is based on where Tristan sits. Okay, so looking at the D style from where Tristan is, way over on the right-hand side there, he has a tendency to see D style behavior as blunt, forceful, demanding, and dominant. Okay, because he's pretty much right opposite that. And so this is information designed to help him understand why he perceives them that way, And then going down a little bit further, you'll see what the priorities are. Now, in order for Tristan to get to understand the D style better, he can look at their priorities, have a read through that, get an understanding of what's really important to them. And if he goes down a little bit further, he'll see 4 little videos. Now, all of these are less than a minute in length, but they're all about how a D style tends to deal with certain situations. So again, this is just something extra that's in Catalyst to help people get to know other styles a bit better. And you'll see over the left-hand side, there's a menu. So we've got the same information for the I style, the S style, and the C style. Just click on the C style for a sec. So we can jump down there. And again, this is how he would tend to see the C style: private, methodical, skeptical, precise. And then again, we've got the priorities for the C style, and then we've got the videos to help understand them better. Okay, so a huge amount of information here for people to play around and explore in Catalyst. So let's go back to the home page. Okay, the next thing I want to go into is, and this is one of the most valuable aspects of Catalyst, is the Your Colleagues section. All right, so when you take the Catalyst profile, it comes up immediately on your screen once you complete the questionnaire. If you upgrade someone to Catalyst from a workplace profile, you can do that in Epic, and you convert it, and you use their existing workplace profile to create the Catalyst workplace profile, because it won't cost you anything if you use an existing one. And they will have to answer some additional questions. But as soon as they've answered those additional questions, they will be at this home page, right? And they'll see their Catalyst profile straight away, all right? And we've had a lot of debate with people about whether that's a good thing or not. I was always of the impression that you should not let people have access to their profile till they're in the session. I've now completely switched with that. I think this works really well. Letting people see their profile before they come to the session, before they come to the debrief, and they come with a whole lot more questions and a lot more interest. As you can see, it's pretty exciting information and very positive information. But the other thing is, when you put someone into Catalyst, you have to put in a company name, right? And everybody who has the same company name in the Catalyst profile will be able to see each other in the Your Colleagues section, unless someone has chosen to opt out of that and has hidden themselves from the rest of people. And you can do that within Catalyst, all right? But I'm going to go into compare to a colleague now, if you could click on that. And this is going to take Tristan into the Your Colleague section. So here's our entire team at Integro, all right? And there's a tile for each person with just a little bit of an explanation. And you'll see there's quite a lot of S styles there. There's one I style and one D style. So I think Tristan's decided to share with you his relationship with Alicia. Alicia is our general manager and the only D style person in our team. And this is what comes up for Tristan. He can't see her profile. He can see what her style is, right? And in a moment, we'll see where her dot is and any additional priorities she's got. But the first thing it says, it's written to Tristan. You might have noticed that Alicia tends to be confident and direct, right? But the important stuff here is, this is what Alicia cares about. What's important to Alicia, all right? Having independence and control, right? Pull Alicia in when a conversation needs a candid voice. So what are Alicia's strengths? And so when should we pull her into a discussion? And then these are some things that Alicia may be stressed about: wasting time. Well, that might be pretty important for Tristan to be aware of. If he wants to go and talk to Alicia, it would be very helpful for him to be mindful of not wasting her time, okay? And of course, Alicia's going to be getting the reverse information when she looks up her Catalyst profile with Tristan, okay? Now, when people question whether I want people to see this about me, and they think about it, they want it to be private, why would you not want people to know what you care about, what your strengths are, and what might stress you? That's only going to help you build relationships in your team. And we're only talking about sharing information with the people that you immediately work with, all right? And so with large organizations, we can not just put in a company name, we can also put in departments, and there's various ways of breaking that down into more manageable group sizes. Okay, so let's scroll down a bit now to priorities, our disc maps. And you can see that although Alicia has a D style, she has an extra priority on enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is one of Tristan's priorities, one he in fact resonated strongly with. So they've got something really good to connect with there. If you scroll down a little bit more, we'll see what their similarities and differences are. Okay, and there's a few similarities, but there's a few more differences if you just go down a little bit further. All right, and it helps to understand what those are. Now, where these similarities and differences come from are the 8 continua that are generated in your catalyst profile. So scroll down, Tristan, and we'll see the 8 continua. Now, the first one there, you can see that Tristan and Alicia are at opposite ends of the scale. And if you click on details, it actually gives us more detailed information as to what our tendencies are. These are Tristan's tendencies, these are Alicia's tendencies, okay? So we can get a lot better understanding of each other and why we do what we do by digging in a little bit further here. Now, if we go down a little bit further, the next one, they're actually both very outgoing, okay? So that's obviously, and because they've both got a priority for enthusiasm, that's all going to help, isn't it? Okay. And so if you just scroll down through the rest of the continua, and I'm not going to go into all 8 of them, but obviously we would in a debrief, make sure people understand what these all are and what their tendencies are, etc. If we go right down to the bottom of this section, we'll see this working together section, okay? And there's 4 applications in here. In working together, is there tension, or have things got tense between us, or is it just this is a new relationship, or I'm new to this team and I want to connect with this person, right? Or I want to get their collaboration for something, okay? Or I want their buy-in for something. So any one of those I click on, it's going to bring up 2 of the continuous. So while we're on buy-in, you can see it comes up with, remember, you're very accepting and Alicia is somewhat skeptical, right? And you're very focused on possibilities and Alicia is somewhat focused on realities. So they're at opposite ends of the 2 scales that have an effect on getting buy-in. And so the benefits of the differences here are highlighted on the left-hand side there, all right? But there's also potential roadblocks, okay? Alicia may think that you don't ask enough critical questions. So being aware of that's very helpful for Tristan in going in to get buy-in from Alicia. And so the tips down below are more specific. And it says, right, be ready with facts and evidence in case Alicia asks the questions, okay? So the way this would work in a real life work situation is that you're going into a meeting with someone, and you may be going to a meeting with 1 or 2 people. You can actually go into your catalyst profile, look up the 2 people, look at the continua, look at the working together down the bottom. Which of these applications is most relevant to this meeting that I'm going into? We're just trying to connect. We want to get collaboration or what, okay? And then get together a little plan on what you need to do, how you need to adapt to the people you're going to be meeting with. So it's designed to be very practical, and because it's in Catalyst, you can look it up very easily. You can look it up on your tablet. You can look it up on your phone. Okay, so that's, let's go back to the home page. And I'm going to go now to build a group. Groups is a fairly new function. And this is, a group is a group of people that you pull together. All right, so you can see there at the top left-hand side, it says create a group. Now, if you clicked on that, it would ask you to choose people that are in your colleagues section. So you can only make a group out of people that you already connected with, okay? And they're in your colleagues. And so you add those people to the group and then you create a group name for them. And we've got a group here and we've, being very modest, called ourselves the Dream Team. And so here is the Dream Team on the right-hand side there. And that's the disk map of the Integro team, all right? And that's the whole Integro team. So you'll see there's 10 people there. And if you look at the group list of 10 people, you'll see there's 1 D, 1 I, and 8 in the S profile, okay? Now, you might think we're a little bit biased and we only hire people with an S style. Not exactly. We hire people who are right for the job. And it just so happens we end up with a lot of S style people. Now, as Tristan is an SI style, so am I, and so is Mel. And then we have a couple people in the S style in the middle there. And then you'll see Kelly's photo there, and that's Sue, I think, next to Kelly in the SC area. Okay, so a little bit of variety within this. But then when you think about what Integra does, we have hundreds of clients using DISC and buying Epic credits and using the platforms and wanting to decide what profile to use. And so we're constantly talking to clients and giving support. So what better style to give support than the S style? So it's not just there's a group. Let's look at group insights. Okay. And so again, we can see there the overabundance of blue for the S style. But if you just go down a little bit further, we'll see the 8 continua and where everyone in the team sits on those continua. Okay. Now, Alicia's out on her own on strong will. The rest of us are more sort of in the middle or pretty accommodating. And there's a bit more variety though when we look at private and outgoing. Just going down to the next one. All right. And so on. So this is a very interesting way to view the team now. And this can help explain why certain things happen within the team. All right. Is there a difficulty in getting people to speak up? If you look at the tactful frank continuum, most of us are tactful. And Alicia is frank. And I know that she finds that frustrating sometimes. But we've all been aware of this for a long time. We all work on this stuff and we do discussions around the team and everything. And we've done 5 behaviors and all of that kind of stuff. So we are able to stretch ourselves when we need to. Okay. So there's some valuable information there. But then the application of this is really interesting. When you go to back to the top of the page, Tristan, and go to conversation starters. Now, this is newer than groups. Okay. It's just recently been added, where you can now generate conversations with your team using conversation starters here. Now, if you're a facilitator and you're working within an organization, client organization, and you've taken a team through the workplace profile on Catalyst, you can then go in and facilitate these discussions, all right? And if, on the other hand, you want the team to be more self-sufficient, or you've created a situation where the team can be more self-sufficient, you can actually have the manager run these conversations, okay? And it would probably help if the manager has also done the management profile, so they know how to adapt the way they manage different styles. And the management profile is also on Catalyst. We won't be covering that today. But what we would do here is choose a topic. And so I'm going to suggest we choose Get to Know Your Team. Thanks, Tristan. And we're going to explore how to work with the new team or just get to know your existing team better. All right. So it doesn't have to be a new team. It could be that you've only recently done Workplace on Catalyst and you're only just starting to use your colleagues and stuff like that. It'd be a great conversation to have. So plan on spending 8 to 15 minutes on each of the 3 screens. Okay. So we're going to get started. All right. So it's going to look at one of the continua, and this is the one which is the biggest spread for Integra. Okay, we've got everything covered from fast-paced to steady-paced. All right, and what fast-paced means, what steady-paced means, and then look at the questions. Do you agree with your placement on the continuum? Why or why not? So the facilitator is going to ask each person around the table, ask each person, do you agree with your placement? Why or why not? Okay. And so it's getting everybody to think about themselves and how fast-paced or steady-paced am I, and how does that fit for me, where I've come out on the continua. And so it's getting people to discuss all of this with each other. When has being steady-paced or fast-paced helped you in life, and when has it hindered you? Right. Now, again, get feedback from everyone on the team. And then the third question is, how much energy does it take for you to slow down or speed up your normal pace? All right. So a very useful discussion. And we've done this with our own team, and it's something we know that we need to do on a more regular basis. It's not just something you do once. We can revisit these things. And my understanding is there will be new conversation starter topics coming from Wiley in the future. Just scroll down a bit further, Tristan, to the next page. And next page, we come to another continuum, being private versus outgoing. And again, discussion questions. Do you agree with your placement? Why not? in light of your placement, what would you like your teammates to know about how you prefer to work, and so on. Okay, so you could actually cover 2 of these in one team meeting if you wanted to. Okay, and then of course, if we go back to conversation starters. Yeah, so then we've got 2 other topics. So we can have another meeting, another time, and talk about how we make decisions together or how we can communicate more clearly together. So that's conversation starters. All right, so now we got back to the home page. And we have the newest, most exciting application in Catalyst, which is Get Advice. Now, you know, those of you that have been using Catalyst for some time, the home page looks totally different to what it did even 2 or 3 weeks ago, all right? Because Getting Advice has only just been added, and they've decided to move all these tiles to the front page of Catalyst. So when you go straight in, you can go straight to learn more about my style, but then you can go on to, if you know all about that and you're just coming in to compare a colleague, you don't have to go looking for your colleagues. You can just go click on compare to a colleague, etc. Okay, if you want to dive into the groups applications, you just click on there. Okay, so let's go to Get Advice again. Now, the idea of this Get Advice is I want to get advice on how to relate to one of my teammates. All right. Now, you'll notice that these 4 topics are the same as what we looked at when we were in Your Colleagues, and Tristan was looking at dealing with Alicia. All right. And that's connecting, collaborating, getting buy-in, or managing tension. Okay. So here, when you come in to get advice, you're actually choosing the topic that you want to work on. So I've got a colleague that I want to get advice on how to deal with more effectively. Which one do you want to work on, Tristan?
Let's go for managing tension today, Keith.
Okay, all right. And so now it's going to say, well, who do you want to manage tension with? So search for a colleague. So you type in a name, and Alicia's name comes up. And only people who are in your colleagues section in your profile are going to come up, obviously. And now this is focusing specifically on Tristan's relationship with Alicia. What are some of the tendencies that could be causing tension between you? First of all, you're very tactful, Alicia is very frank, okay? And what that means is, etc. Okay? And you can click on details if you want there, and it's going to come up with tendencies, like what came up within Your Colleagues section, okay? So shrink that back up a bit. And then you're also very accommodating, while Alicia is very strong-willed, okay? And again, we can look at the details there, okay? And just to get a better understanding of how that is likely to show up, okay? And then go down a little bit further and keep in mind some tips, okay? Most people mean well, okay? So even though you might find directness off-putting, focus on the words being used rather than the tone, okay? So it's just really giving Tristan advice on how to better understand the differences on the 2 continua that have an impact on tension or likely tension, and then some taking action tips, all right? So focus on these things, okay? And so that's very practical. You're going to have a meeting with someone, you want to get them to collaborate with you, go into this area here and choose collaboration. It'll come up with the 2 continua out of the 8 that are relevant to the application that you chose, all right? So I'm just going to go back to home page now, Tristan, and I'm going to throw it open to questions. Good question here from Tara. When do you show them their supplement report when doing debrief on Catalyst? I would include it in the initial 2-hour debrief that I'm doing. After we've been through Catalyst, okay, let's have a look now at the PDF file printout of your supplement for facilitator report. And then if we've got any questions, we can always go back into Catalyst to look at things. So that's when I typically do it. And that's when I'm doing it in a classroom session. I go through the debrief of the workplace profile thoroughly, as much as I want to debrief, and have all the little group discussions and that sort of thing. And then say, okay, now let's look at this additional report, the supplement. Yeah. You need to have people within their own organisation on Catalyst already to do that, because if you just change the name in their profile and they're the only one there, then they won't have any of your colleagues. They'll still get their catalyst profile, but it'll just not have anything else in there. So it's better to not transfer them in until they've got some other people there to work with.
So just popping back to a question on the supplement data, Keith, when you do show them their supplement data when doing the debrief on when do you do it, so you answered that. Is there anything more about the supplement data and using that supplement report that you have to share about the
And when I'm debriefing the supplement after I've debriefed Catalyst, workplace on Catalyst, do I make any other connections? And the only thing I could do there would be to say, if you have a look at where you sit on the continua, some of the positions might be surprising, and it's quite possible. And I think, for example, if we looked at Pammy on our team and looked at because we talked about her being unstructured, very structured, which for an I style you wouldn't expect. They're typically more spontaneous. But if you looked at her unexpected items in her supplement, you would probably find some items there that would explain why she comes out as being more structured. Okay, so that would be the main thing I would say you could use the supplement for, to get better understanding of what's in your catalyst profile. The umbrella graph might also add some context to that too. So if you've got a spike on the C scale, for example, that might affect where you sit on the continua too. Well, thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it. Nice to see so many of you stayed on.